Hey.
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 Welcome back to page 3. I'm Ellie.
I'm Sydney.
And I'm Devyn.
Yay!
We have a very, very, very special guest today. As many of you know, we are actively tracing our dreams with this podcast. And so we thought it would be so fitting to bring on somebody else who's also chasing their dreams and in the pursuit of that. And yeah, just talk to her about what it's like and all of those different things. So we're very excited for
Yes,
Devyn to
Thank
be here.
you.
we're
I'm so
so
happy to be here.
yay.
Hey.
So recently I was scrolling across my TikTok page and Miss Devon popped up giving a pretty awesome spiel about her life and what's led her to this point and a business she's working on right now and amongst other things. And so we just thought she could come on here and talk to her about what I have now nicknamed her pivot theory.
Yeah.
And then also her wonderful project she's working on called 52 Weeks. So, Devin, if you wanna take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Sid. I feel like don't even know where to start. I feel like it's so deeply ingrained in like me and who I am. I decided after graduating that I felt like going through post grad, not enough people were comfortable saying how like stressed out they were and how uprooting their lives felt in that moment. But everyone felt it in that moment. So I was just like, okay, maybe I'm going to be the person that's real enough to say life sucks right now. And we're all feeling that.
Mm.
So yeah, I think I was getting so many messages from people just kind of like, I feel like people come to me daily with their problems. And it's a lot of people were just saying, like, I feel like I'm stuck. I don't know what to do in terms of choosing a career. I don't know if I'm going to succeed. And that's kind of when I was like, well, what would I do in this moment? And I realized, not alike many people, I don't allow quitting to be something in my mindset. It's like not an option. And I think because of that, I'm always readjusting rather than like eliminating. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of what the pivot theory, if you will, is. I really just get excited to talk about this idea of eliminating quitting from your mindset, and that when you do, everything is really just a pivot and you can turn something that feels like rejection into protection and into a different pathway, which I love.
I love that.
Yeah, I do love that.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, like, I know you've talked about this before on your social media that you basically 1 semester before you graduated changed your entire idea of your career path, like, you went to college for a very specific reason, one that usually does not leave a lot of wiggle room for
Yeah.
change, and you completely, in all respects, basically blew up your plan and changed
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah,
which
no,
is
that's exactly it. I mean, I went to school, I went into a medical science thinking that at the end of the day, I didn't know if I was like that passionate about it per se, but I think that growing up, I told myself I needed to choose a major that would set me up for a career that no one could ever tell me what I was doing did not actually matter to the world. And
Mm.
so, where there are things like marketing and social media and just a million different things, even like finance, like all of those inherently matter, but I feel like when you're in something, like if you're a fighter or like a nurse or something, somebody can't look at you and say, hey, your job doesn't matter at the end of the day. And so I geared my life towards that path. And as I was going through school at NYU, I just had so many interesting classes and met so many diverse people. And I was like, I'm not interested in what my actual major classes are. All of my interests were in random sociological courses and stuff like that. And so, yeah, my senior year, I was finally ready to put the white flag up and say, this is not for me. I'm not going to grad school for this. Yeah, I decided that I was going to pivot, as you will. And
yeah.
so I made it my full time job to find a job. And I'm now working in HR and I love it. And it's still people work and it still matters.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
it
it
absolutely
does. I also think there's a lot to be said about the way that everybody has opinions about what life you should lead and what your life should look like and what the most stable path is. But ultimately, like, I think people don't put enough emphasis on personal happiness and like what
Yes.
makes your like soul tick and what makes
Right.
you like want to wake up in the morning. And I think similarly, like Sid and I went through moments where we were like, I was going to be in business because it was like the most stable possible option. And then I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't I can't get, and that's not to say that there are people like my dad does business. Like
Right.
he did incredible work, and he does really important work. And it's just, but it doesn't feel like it's my thing. And
Yeah.
I think finding what makes you happy and letting go of what everybody else thinks is really important. Like one of
Yeah.
my professors told me once, like when I'm writing my novel, like you have to write like nobody's reading because otherwise you're just like not gonna write what's necessary because you're just gonna
Mhm.
have two voices in your head. And so I think that's kind of been applicable to, like, my own life and how I operate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody knows this story. I dropped out of nursing and it was like life disastering for me. Like, I was distraught when I dropped out of pre-nursing and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna do an art. Like, I'm gonna do an art." And this is like at the time where like I mean everybody was saying like art is dying. Which, ChatGPT is taking over the world and there's no need for arts. And like, this is when people stopped wanting to be education majors because people didn't want to be teachers and like all of those things. I had somebody recently actually tell me, which I wish I would have known this person when I dropped nursing. But I had somebody recently tell me, like, at the end of the day, the only person that has to live with your decisions in your body with your life is you. Like, you are the only person at the end of the day that has to deal with any of this. So, like, if you're doing it all for somebody else, like, if the world blows up tomorrow, the only person you have is yourself. So, like,
True.
why would you not, do the thing that you have to live with? And
Totally.
Absolutely. And I think such a scary part about coming to that realization is the fact that people see change as failure a lot of the time because we put so much weight into what others think. And
totally.
I really sat there one day, and I'm so happy that you both have been through this too. Like sitting there and thinking, does it outweigh doing what you think the right thing is that will, and it's crazy because we think we matter so much to other people. Like,
Yeah.
genuinely, nobody cared that I left SLP. No one cared that Sid left, like, nursing. No one cared that Ellie didn't do business. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy that we think that other people are thinking about our lives so much, and we
Yeah.
lose sight of, like, actually thinking about our lives and what truly matters to us because we think it matters to others. And I just think, like, I find that so amazingly weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. It's also just like it's the thing that's so strange to me is it's like, okay, we see all of this change as failure, which is so true. Like the second you think like you see change, the only thing that the outsiders see, like the outside perspective is like unsureness. Like if you
Right.
choose change, then you're unsure, then you don't trust yourself, then you don't know what you're doing. And
Yeah.
then when you really think about it, like at least from the college perspective, like, how the literal fucking shit was I supposed to know what I wanted to do at 16 when I was applying? I was applying to college when I was 16. I had just learned how to drive. You think I knew what I wanted with my life? Like, are
Right.
you actually serious? Like, I genuinely, me and my dad had a conversation recently where we think that everybody should be required to go to college as an undecided major and take classes in every aspect because there is not a
Yes.
single person I know I don't know anybody that either feels confident with where they're at now and was like, yes, I made the right decision at 17, or who didn't change their major. Like, how the literal fuck are you serious that at 16, me, as I'm applying to schools, I'm like, yes, I would love to go to this university in this random state that I've never been to and study this thing that I've never heard of. Are we for real? So
No, it's
that's just my
crazy.
2 cents. Like, change is not a failure. Like, I think it's a lot of pressure to put on people to know exactly what you want to do at every moment in time. Like, I think your whole life you go through seasons of change and like you
Yeah.
become a different person and you become a different entity and you grow different interests. And I think if you're not changing and you're not going through life gaining experiences that make you want to change your mentality, your habits, your behavior, your career, then I don't really know if you're gaining a whole lot from what you're going through.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I think that's such a beautiful way to put it because I think I also kind of want us to talk a little bit more about the experience of graduating because I was in a super similar boat. Like I graduated from college almost 2 years ago and then I went right into grad school because it's what I wanted to do, but also because like, let's be honest, being back in school is like a total relief because somebody
Yeah.
else has what you need to be doing.
Right.
And like I'm gearing up to graduate again, which is so weird to me because it's like totally, I don't know. But I think that a lot of people don't talk about that uncertainty. And I honestly think the hardest part for me when I graduated was kind of realizing that like nobody knows what the hell they're doing. Like not even like the older people in my life, like I'm like, wow, nobody knows it. Like I feel so fooled. Like I thought that once you graduated college and you got this pretty diploma, like all of a sudden you knew exactly what was happening, exactly what was going on. And then to be like, "None of you know what the hell is going on," felt like such a betrayal almost. And I think now it's like, I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, I'm just more comfortable in that uncertainty, and I think there's kind of a beauty in learning how to be and, like, release control. And, like, I guess my question for you, Devin, is, like, how do you kind of, like, live in that uncertainty and, like, how do you release control and, like, what's the thing that, like, you kind of, like, implement into your life to make that a little bit easier to swallow?
Yeah. I actually I'm so happy you asked this because, like, a few minutes ago, we were talking about well, you said that everyone's, like, stressed out after graduation and the word uncertainty,
Yeah.
and there's a word that I came across last night, and it's liminal, and I don't know if either of you are very familiar with, like, liminal spaces, but, like
My, grad school, like, it's one of those words, you know, when you're like everyone in an English class is like, "I'm gonna piggyback off of you," like, I'm gonna,
yeah.
like weirdly, liminal spaces, sorry to, like, interrupt you, became
No.
the equivalent of, like, "I'm gonna piggyback off of you." Like, everyone talks about liminal spaces. I actually don't even think I really fully know what it means, but
I don't at all.
Yeah, so a liminal space, essentially, there's like a couple of things that like will come up when you look it up. And like oftentimes it's associated with like when you see a daunting, like think about you're in the middle of a hospital in the middle of the night and you just are looking down a long hallway and it just gives you a sense of unease because you genuinely, you're like going through it and you have no idea what's behind you or what's in front of you. So
Mhm.
liminal gets like a bad connotation because people assume that it's like negative and that it's the uncertainty that leaves you feeling scared.
Yeah.
I love there's this like positive way of thinking about it, which is like you can see a liminal space as you are always changing and you are always kind of in the betwixt and between, and that you are every time that you are in the in between, it means that you're changing. And I love that because like ever since I was little, I always told my mom, like, I'm petrified of people. No offense. There are certain people that love this and God bless them. I love it for them. I don't love it for me. There are people that are content spending their lives in the same places they grew up with the same people doing the same things every single day of their life.
Yeah.
And if that's somebody's cup of tea, wonderful. I always knew like I never wanted static. I never wanted to do the same thing every single day. And so I think I've always loved living in the liminal and that uncertainty was like very terrifying, but it's more terrifying being so certain that you have no plan rather than like I love to think that there's something out there that I'm going to be different tomorrow than who I am today. And I don't know
Yeah.
what it's going to be that's going to change me. It's uncertain, but I am excited about it. And so
Yeah.
when you ask, like, how do I live in this stage of consistent uncertainty? I think that
Mm.
it's excitement towards not knowing what the hell's coming next and also just like having faith in a higher being that there's a plan laid out there for you and you don't always have to know that. And that's really been nice because as somebody that likes to have control over everything, settling into like it's going to be okay if you don't know what's going to happen tonight or tomorrow or next year, but it's damn sure going to be good.
Yeah,
Right? I think that's kind of
totally.
something that I love a lot too. Like, I talk to my therapist about this a lot because, like, I have such a problem, like, releasing control, and she's like, "You know, control is like an illusion, right? Like, you don't actually have control over anything ever.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really have control, and releasing control in a weird paradox is a type of control, and that's actually a really beautiful thing, and I think the times in my life where I've really, let go of control and let the things kind of, like, come into my life. Sid, what your therapist was saying the other day about, like, the
The
30%, like,
70
allow
yeah, my
yeah,
he told me this thing called the 70% rule because I was going off on this whole tangent about how, like, I feel like I can't make the right decision about this thing going on in my life because there's no good option, and I don't like that I would have to, like, let go of certain pros in certain options and be okay with certain cons no matter what, and he basically was like, "You've spent so much time coming up with a plan that if you 100% try to control everything, then by the time you figure out how to do it all, you're gonna have missed your chance to do it at all."
yeah,
And
True.
it's like, if you prepare for 70% of the time, that other 30% can be like the what if. Like, what if this goes wrong? And what if this changes? What if maybe I don't feel this way? But like, and he explained it, he was in the military, so he explained it as, like, they would go in 70% prepared for whatever situation they were in, but there's always another party involved. Like, the control is an illusion because you can't fully be in control. The world has some semblance of your control, the people around you
true.
have some of your control. That was, like, the 30%. And so, like, if you try to control 100% of things and exclude the other entity that's involved in your control, like, they still have the autonomy to do whatever the fuck they want. So you never actually have this 100%. Instead, you just wasted so much fucking time trying to get to 100% when
Yeah.
you could have been happy if you got 70. Like, but I don't know. I mean, he's a really smart man. No shade to him. Really appreciated that comment. I needed it. But at the same time, like post grad, I think me and Ellie were recently talking about this, that it's been really weird for when people ask, so what are you doing like when you graduate? Like, because I'm obviously leaving in May and Ellie's obviously leaving in May. And I have to sit there and be like, well, me and my friend are starting this thing, but it doesn't exist yet. And it's gonna exist. But it doesn't exist yet, so just that's what I'm doing, and then they look at me and they're like, "This fucking idiot. This girl, like, did you even try to get a job? Could you just not? Like, how serious are you taking this?" And then I have to be like, "Well, it doesn't exist yet, but we're working on it, and we're kind of keeping it quiet, and but we have a podcast where we're kind of, starting to put our hooks into things, and we really care about whatever." And then they still look at me and they're like, "They paid for her to go to college for this? For
Yeah.
this?"
Or I think that Sid and I have this really bad habit of assuming what other people are thinking about us, which is a
Yeah.
conversation we have daily, like, which is like, we don't actually know that those people are saying negative things. It could just be a projection. Really quick, I wanted to also kind of touch on like the idea, Sid, that like, I love the idea of like, oh, there's always 30% that you don't know. But I kind of also love that there's like 70, you plan 70%, but then you also leave a 30% for something miraculous to happen, like something better than what you could have planned. And I think that
Yeah.
that's something that I've kind of really held on to and like totally ditched what your therapist said and like made my own meaning. Cause I think that there's something really beautiful, like leaving room for like, for me, it's like leaving room for God to make like space in my life and leaving room for those miracles or leaving room for like miraculous things to happen, leaving room for like an exciting thing to happen. And I think for people that kind of struggle with like mental health, like anxiety, OCD, depression, like it's really hard to let that exist because it's just hard to live in a mind that's consistently uncertain. But I think there's something really beautiful about allowing that. So why don't you tell us about what you are up to with your
Yeah,
52 weeks?
that's what I was gonna say is, shall we pivot,
I mean,
to
actually,
Devyn in 52 weeks?
playing off of kind of what you both were just saying, like I think that starting layer of 52 weeks is really just the mindset of the person that came up with it and the mindset that they allowed me to adopt from them and the way that they think about life. And I think that it's very serendipitous. And I think that they would hear the 70-30 rule and be like, I see it more 70-30 the opposite way. I leave 70% up to serendipity and know that in being serendipitous, you cultivate a life in which if everything is a surprise and it feels like you're learning something, and if you see everything as a learning experience, like really no negativity lives around you. It's all going to work out at the end of the day. It's just out of your hands. And I think there's something really beautiful to that, playing off of that. So the brand that I'm working with, I'm doing branding and social for them, is 52 weeks, and it stands for the 52 weeks that are in 1 year. Weeks is spelled, like you'll notice if you see it, it's spelled WKS, which is an acronym for We Know Sacrifice. And more so than just being a brand, it's really meant to be like a communal space, kind of like a third space, if you will, that's not actually a third space. Really just for people to reflect and speak more with others about these kinds of topics, right? Like, unfortunately, we have to sit here over the phone and do it. And I think that in this day and age where we're going towards, it'll be a lot more like that. And I hope that people will create more spaces where they can talk about stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's really for the people that don't have friends that they can hop on a call with like this and have conversations with. It's to create a space where you can make friends like that, because a lot of people grow up in a world where they don't have people to support them or tell them, just so you know, you can win at this. Sid, if you want to be a famous podcaster and grow this brand, you can do it. There are so many people out there that don't have that or don't have a teacher that tells them, you know what, Ellie, you will write that book and you're going to do great at it. And I think
Yeah.
that it sucks when you miss out on that. And none of us would know what that's like because we do have people that believe in us. So it's really for the people that had to be only believe in themselves and that they really, like we just said, instead of being that like 30% allowing life to happen, they really want to happen to life more so. And they take control by honestly letting go of all control and really just sacrificing their mindset to only believe in the betterness of themselves and to make an impact into the world. And so I'm really
Yeah.
I think
excited. Yeah,
something
no,
really beautiful.
continue.
No, I think something really beautiful about this. I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and just how cool it was, and she was kind of talking about how much she loved the fact that, like, a lot of brands, because it's also, like, a clothing brand, a lot of brands are, like, kind of geared towards, like, "Oh, you're, like" right, like Nike is, like, everyone has, like, their run club, and,
Yeah,
like, everyone's pursuing, like, a fitness goal, right? That's, like, usually the goal, but to, like, better your life, right, in whatever sense it is, like, whatever way, whatever world it is, like, that is such a unique experience to be able to share and join a community of people where you're like, "Yeah, like, I just dedicated 10 minutes of my day or 2 hours of my day to, looking up the best culinary school for me to go to," or I spent I just invested in going to EMT school or whatever it is, like, this super amazing experience of just being able to share with people, like, your version of sacrifice, and I feel like sacrifice is also often interpreted with working out and, like, the
yeah,
fitness, but there's something also so true about the discipline of, like, that teaches you discipline, sure, but there's also such a discipline of, like, chasing your dreams and what that takes, and I feel like there's not a
right.
lot of room for people to share, like, I'm risking it's almost scarier 'cause I feel like less people talk about it and less people do it, and so, do you think you would create an app where people can talk and kind of, like, share things and stuff with, like,
Each
people?
other? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so in a perfect world, I think and why I think it's perfect for a clothing brand, because you could be like, this could be anything, like, this could be
Right.
letters for you that you could write to someone supporting them randomly. I think that when you walk outside and the way that I envision this, when you walk outside, I envision, like, 2 men walking out, and one guy's wearing a 52-week sweater, and someone comes up to him because famously, the first thing that we see about people is the way that they present themselves to the outside world, and oftentimes that's our style. And so I think that when you're choosing to articulate what you're doing with your life through your clothing, I find that really beautiful. And so this guy's wearing a 52 weeks, whatever, and I see someone coming up to him being like, yo, I really love that sweater. Like, where's it from? And he'd be like, 52 weeks. Oh, what's that brand? He tells him. And it's like, it's engaging more conversation out into the personal world to speak about, like, oh, like, why are you wearing that? What makes you feel like you're a part of this community? And instead of it, or even like, I think of my mom, who's a nurse, and she's going back to school now as a mother 3 times, and she represents 52 weeks to her core. She's not an athlete by any means, and God bless her. She won't love that I said that, but like it's where Nike can really gear towards the athlete world, and they're awesome for that. It's really for being able to speak about sacrifice regardless of what walk of life you're coming from, regardless if you're a parent or a grandparent or
Yeah.
somebody that doesn't even have a family, and your sacrifice is really only having yourself and being there for yourself in every which way. So I find it really beautiful. And then to answer your question in a very long way, I think that we have a lot of ideas swirling around in what we want to do, and I honestly think that we're going to be limitless in what we can do because
Yeah.
there's so many. I read this book by Jennifer Wallace called Mattering, and Sid already knows this, and Jenny says that to truly matter in the world, no one can tell you if you matter or if you don't. But to
Yeah.
truly feel like you're mattering in the world, you have to find a discrepancy in the world and then add what you're good at and put it together. And that is mattering to the entire world. And I think that to just like the discrepancy really is that we don't cultivate enough space to talk about our wins with other people and what we're doing behind the scenes and the mental health that goes into that. And so we're
Yeah.
hoping to really push full force into that space with whatever we end up coming up with.
Yeah.
My god, like, every time you talk about this, I, like, get so excited, like, it
Yeah.
reminds me of, like, how I felt in the beginning of, like, page 3 and all of the other ideas that Sid and I have, like, this kind of, like, radical, like, I don't know how to it's just, like, this beautiful experience of, like, kind of like the it hits you moment, like, you're talking about, like, how you were, like, in the shower and it, like, hit you, like, "Oh, this is what I'm
Yeah.
meant to." I'm like, I was, like, driving down the road and I was like, "Oh my god, this is the idea I'm meant to go with." And, like, how it's so scary because it's just, like, it just starts as an idea. It really does just
Yeah,
start an idea, but, like, who's to say that you couldn't do it and, like,
right?
crush it and, like, change the world in this very small way. And I think something that I've kind of always sat with in terms of, like, the things that Sid and I wanna do beyond the podcast and an extension of the podcast is, like, I've always kinda thought, like, there are so many things in the world that I wish I could change. So many things in the world that I wish could change, but ultimately I can't, like, dividing yourself up like that is kind of like a disservice, I think. And so I think that I kind of coped with the idea of like, okay, I'm going to pick one area that I really know that I'm good at and that I care for deeply. And I'm going to make my
Right.
change the world and make this the best space that I can, and hope that equally people like you will be in other areas. Like, I have no ability to do clothing, all of those things, and it's so cool to be put trust in, like, another fellow community member and be like, "Yes,
Right.
and you're gonna," like, and how exciting it
Yeah.
can be for us to kind of, like, change the world, as big as that
Right.
sounds, in these really small incremental ways that
Yeah.
just make, like, the world a beautiful place where you can just inspire dreams. Like, I think it's such a sadness in my mind that people don't feel like they can chase their dreams, because what else would you wanna spend your time doing, you know? Like, what
Right.
else would you wanna do? And I know that's such a privileged thing to say because not everyone has the option to do that, but, like, I don't know.
No, I love that you said that, Ellie, because that's really like the pinnacle exactly of what I think we're feeling. And I think that right, like you could sit here. I'm the same way. I'm like, wow, I wanna house every dog in the world that's a stray dog, and I wanna make sure that they're being taken care of. And I
Yeah.
think that I love social media for the fact that we really do see the beauty that is happening in the world around us. And of course, you can see a lot of the bad, but it's really helpful to know that people are pursuing their dreams and finding the discrepancies and putting their life towards fixing it. And I
Yeah,
think that we want to label and represent those people and
yeah,
build a community where all of those people can come in one. And I could walk down the street and be like, oh my God, Ellie in the blue 52 weeks hoodie, like, what she's doing. And be like, hey, I noticed you're wearing 52 weeks. I love that brand. Like, what are you up to? How are you pursuing your dreams? Like, if you're wearing that, you better be pursuing something. So I
Yeah.
oh
think,
my god,
yeah,
your
just
vision is so amazing. I
Yeah,
wanna
it's
wear
so
this
clear.
tomorrow. Are you serious? This is so cool to me. Like, what it represents and what it is just so fucking incredible. Like, oh
thank
my
Yeah.
god,
you.
fucking awesome. Like, I just
Thank
love it.
you.
I
I
also
mean, I'm excited.
I know that I said this to Devin, I said this to you on the phone when we were scheduling this call, but I just feel as though the people also need to hear it. Is that I think like one of the hardest things that me and Ellie have had to deal with is like being surrounded by or feeling like we're surrounded by people that are not in the same boat as us, like constantly hearing another job announcement on LinkedIn. And it's of course like their dream job, and they're now the CEO of some crazy company at 18.
Oh, good morning, America. Like, let's
It's actually, like it really is, like, soul-wrenching, and so it's like we hear that on a daily basis. It's, like, another job that people are getting, which, like, my friends that are getting jobs right now, like, I'm so proud of them, I'm so excited for them, like, that's just, I'm sure, one of the most relieving feelings in the world and just feels like such a success. But I think the hard thing is that when me and Ellie wanted to start this and we were kind of looking for inspiration of how we wanted to conduct ourselves on the internet and, people that we really looked up to and the way that they spoke to others, it was really hard to find any evidence that people started where we did. We just could only see like the highlight reel
Right.
success story of like Alex Cooper, Emma Chamberlain, Huberman Lab. And it's like, there's no evidence that shows them when they had 50 followers and nobody was listening. And so it kind of felt really discouraging because we were like, "Oh, well, like, were they already influencers and how did they already have credit? And like, do we need to be talking about these certain topics to get this following?" And like, it was so
Yeah,
discouraging because we believed in ourselves, and we are so lucky that we have the support system that is allowing us to feel like we can do this and not feel like we're like drowning as we're trying. But at the same time, there's such a lack of evidence on the internet of people trying. And my theory on this is that people don't want to post that they're chasing their dreams because if it doesn't work out, then they have to have their failure on the internet.
Yep.
So that was like my biggest qualm of being a host on this podcast was like, oh my God, if it doesn't work out, like you can go back and look and see that I tried this. Like, and it's going to be on the internet and the internet lives forever. And you're going to see that I got a 4-year degree and then I did this and then it didn't happen and whatever. So I
yeah,
think that's why there's no evidence. So I think the niche that you have found for yourself to matter is that nobody wants other people to see their failure or their change or their pivot. And that if you by creating this 52 weeks community, you give everybody the license to be like, okay, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to
yeah,
be okay. Like, I'm going to show up for myself every single day for every week for all year long. And if it doesn't work out, there's all of these people that are enduring that same thing with me that are not judging me. They're okay with that. They
Right.
know what it takes. They know what it's like. And I think that's like just such a beautiful community to make for yourself because I wish we had it at this exact moment. I do.
really.
And really, this is the foundation. I mean, this we do have it. Sid, I want to use your own word against you because it made me smile, and you can see this when you watch the tape back. You literally said it's so embarrassing because you can go back and see I tried that. And I love that you said that because you were saying it negatively, but it's the most positive thing ever because guess what? You fucking tried. You can't you can go back and say, or like when you're wrinkly and old and your grandkids are like, did you ever pursue your dreams? Like you can go back and say, I tried. And trying is the first step to like essentially you did it. You're doing it right now. And so even if it's embarrassing, which we're all gonna die one day, and like you can just hope that you can hope that you leave your mark on this world, like you
Yeah.
did it.
That's what Ellie said to me this week. She said the failure is not trying at all.
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say like failure, and that's what my girlfriend always tells me. She always tells me, she's like, Ellie, like who gives a fuck? Like it would be more of a disservice. It would be more of a failure if you never like woke up and you chased your dreams and you never did that. Like that's so sad, you know?
Yep.
And I also think there's kind of like a scarcity mindset of like, oh, we can't all chase our dreams. Like that, what would that look like? You know, and this weird kind of like limiting belief that the world has placed on us, but it's like ultimately we don't all have the same dreams. All three of us have very different dreams. Like even Sid
Yeah.
and I, same thing. We have different things, right? Like we have different
Yeah.
hopes and things that we want, and like the same with other people. Like they have different things that make them tick and make them passionate, and like there's room and there's space for everybody to do what they really love. And so I love it.
Even I mean, like, adding on to that, I made a TikTok about this, but I didn't post it. It's like I called it the Post-it theory because I don't know if you guys know how Post-it notes were made, but the chemist or yeah, I think he was like a chemist or scientist was trying to make the world's strongest adhesive for aerospace. And instead, he accidentally made a pressure sensitive, really weak glue. And he was like, what the hell am I gonna do with this? It like literally made, and he called it a mistake and made the exact opposite of what he wanted to make. And there was a man out there that was trying to figure out like how he could properly annotate like his books with other pages and things like that. And that's how the Post-it note came about because that is the adhesive that we use on Post-it notes. And I just find it like really funny because in like just like you said, we all have that different thing that makes us click. Like my best friend loves being in finance. Like there is creativity that goes into her work and she loves being the facilitator of it. If you will, she would be the guy that would be like, yes, I need Post-it notes. You came up with a creative idea. Like, let's make it Post-it. And then there's people like us who like, I feel like sometimes we can feel overwhelmed and exactly be like, well, there's an over influx of people who have dreams. Like, what are we putting out there that might not have already been done? And it's hard to see the benefits at the end of the day. But like, one of us could make a mistake or we could do the right thing that could end up becoming the next Post-its. Like every time that anyone feels hesitant about doing their dreams, I think you should just post it, do it. Whatever it is, you deserve to put it out there.
That also ties back to the idea of like the 70-30. If we're going with the idea of like leaving 30% for like the miracle
Right.
thing, right? You can
Yeah.
control it. I was gonna say, as soon as he was like, "Oh, I wanted to make an adhesive that was aerosmith," I was like, "Wow, he really fucking failed." He like Post-it just never sticks for me. But also like, okay, who am I to fucking judge? You made Post-it, that's incredible. Like, and how many Post-it notes I leave a day, and how it's become like a daily thing, and it's like something that changes the world in such a small like this amazing what I don't know. It's just so leaving the room and leaving the space. And I think that's something that I need to learn and something that I'm really gonna take away from this conversation. And interestingly, I was like talking to God about this and I was like, oh my God, like what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, I'm so scared. And like every day, like it would just kind of be like, kind of get this like, I would consistently get this message and it would just be like, you're not supposed to know. Like, you're just not supposed to know. And so I kind of think it's supposed to be like, I'm not supposed to be able to look into the future and see myself a year from now and know who she is and what she's doing, what she's up to. Like, I'm supposed to just be right here, right now and leave that space up for me. It's God to like make this beautiful space where it's like these miracles can happen and things that I would have never expected can happen. And that's even more beautiful because honestly, the things that I've planned in my life that have happened to are kind of disappointing because I'm very limited in my imagination and my ability. When everything is planned and it works out, it's like, but how exciting is it when like it works out better than you could have imagined, right? And like
Right.
better than you could have seen it coming. And yeah.
Now I saw something the other day, or I was literally praying last night because I was like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Like, I don't know if I'm being received well. Oftentimes it feels like people who are not received well in real life or for whatever reason received well in the mass media and they're going to do it and I'm just not going to succeed in this space. And then
Yeah.
I was like randomly I was praying and I was thinking and this thought came to mind which is like something I saw when I was scrolling like a while ago and it was a quote and it was like God often puts the dreams in our hearts before he puts the resources in our hands. And it felt like I was being told like bitch, calm down. You're stressing yourself out. You have the dream. You have a lot of dreams, actually. Maybe you want to narrow it down to one. But, like, just know in due time, you have that 70%. In due time, that 30% will come, and I will give you the resources, and your harvest will come. But for now, you need to continue sowing. And I feel like that's exactly where we all are right now. Like, we need to
Totally
continue
fucking
sowing.
mic drop.
Yeah.
Actually, totally
Well,
fucking mic drop.
Well, that's also kind of my belief of like the kind of idea. And like I always think about the fact that like God planted this seed in my heart, right? And like I was thinking about it the other day. It's so funny. Like I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, okay, so I have this seed and I planted it, right? I started the podcast. I have my dreams for it. This other thing that Sid and I like are super passionate about. Like I have those things, right? And then I was thinking about it and I was like, you know how long it takes things to like bloom? And then I was thinking about like how like this is gonna be crazy. Okay, I don't know if I can admit this on the internet, but I was like, okay, let's say that my dreams and like my future is supposed to be like a redwood tree. How long does that take to like, but how sturdy and how balanced and how amazing. Like if you just nurture your wall and you play, like, don't you want that over like, don't you want something that is so sturdy and like a redwood tree lasts for like hundreds, right? Like it's just like you have this passion that's like beyond and it just starts as like a little seed, you know? And like
Yeah.
how like okay, let it grow. Like it's gonna grow when it's meant to. You can't rush that. And there's a
Yeah.
beautiful process in the growth of it.
Yeah.
And so I always try to think like, okay, my redwood tree is it's sprouting. It is in there. I have done what I have to just put trust in nature that she's gonna grow and that she's gonna grow into something beautiful. Maybe she'll go into an entire forest. Like you never know. Like these amazing things can happen and these miracles can happen. And it's just I also love what you just said that there are people that are received well in real life, but they often don't. Can you say that again? What was it? That there's something about the
Yeah.
media that
No, I was talking with my mom on the phone because I was like, because I thought about it and I was like, I could be making these not stupid, nothing stupid, but I could be making videos where it's like, oh, like what I want to wear today. And like people get like thousands and millions of followers from doing stuff like that. And I was like, Mom, it just feels so inauthentic to sit here and pretend that I want to talk about these things that I definitely don't. But like, that's where the money is. And I was like, and that's not even what I want at the end of the day. Like, I just want people to feel the way that I feel. And I want to cultivate this mindset amongst people that I have because, like, I just feel like the world deserves that. And
Yeah.
she was like, she was like, I don't understand why you think that you would be somebody that would become an overnight sensation on the like internet when like you're not an online influencer, you are a real life influencer. You make influence in real life, which is why everyone in the world around you is gravitated towards you. And she was like, you are meant to, she was like, you're not like I forgot what she called it. She was like, you're not like a Kim K type of person. Like you're not gonna blow up for this overnight. Like you are somebody that will become whatever you're meant to be because of the real life work that you are doing and real life impact that you actually make. And I was like, okay, thank God I needed to hear that.
I love
I fucking love that. Are you serious? That's fucking amazing. I mean, it's so true though. And I think that it's like, it's so hard because like I try not to slip into the whole idea of like, just because I want to praise my dream doesn't mean that I need to diminish somebody else's. And I think that there's something so beautiful about like the people that like I follow an influencer who I absolutely adore and she does outfit videos and she makes her own dresses and she's fucking amazing and she's so cool. But it's like, okay, I know that that system works, right? Like, I know doing like an outfit of the week and then like all these things it works, but it doesn't make me tick. And therefore I think
Right,
it's because like the reason that it's not working for me is because that's not my thing. Why would I like,
right,
do I even want to be famous for that? Do I want to be known as putting outfits together? No, like I don't. Like
right.
I'm literally, if you looked down beneath this screen, I'm wearing teddy bear boxers. I don't want to be known for my like fashion. Like that's not what I want to be known for. I want to be known for my art and I want to be known for like the business that I create. That's what I want to be known
yeah.
for. So like you don't go in the places where you are meant to be and like go where you
Right,
go. And I think that that's so beautiful too of like I have so many relationships with people and I think it's just as important. And what I love about 52 weeks and I think that that's something that I've really wanted to is like Sid and I want to also kind of create like third space, like an online third space through the podcast, but also different third
right.
space in our lives. And I think something that's so beautiful is like I love social media because it allows connection, but I also think that they're simultaneously, like, something has to happen at the same time and it has to be in-person connection. And I think that's just such an important healer for your life and your world and how you like everything. So
Yeah, I totally agree. I would love to tell you all that we discovered Devin, but we did not. I've known her since high school.
high school.
And me and Devin were friends for years now. So I would love to say that I just stumbled upon her on the For You page and that's how this worked out. But no, she so graciously agreed to come on. And I would like to say that outside of all of the dreams that you're pursuing with 52 weeks and your career change, that I am Devyn's #1 TikTok fan. I comment on her video. And Devyn has self-proclaimed herself the internet's big sister, but not in the way you're thinking, okay? I know you're thinking it's like, let me tell you about how to deal with boys, and let me tell you about how to deal with high school, and let me tell you about how to no, she gives very brutally honest advice and truths, and a lot of time I find them clocking myself. So that's where I gleaned the pivot theory. She has many others. So yeah, I think that obviously nothing can be an overnight success, especially something that's going to be long lasting and something that's going to be staple. But I love your TikTok. I think what you're posting is so unbelievably authentic and so genuine and so very, as somebody who has known you and did not just find you from the internet, it is so exactly who you are. Like the conversations that we've had privately is the advice you've given me and what we've talked about is exactly how you've presented yourself to the world. And I think that if, like, I love being around you, the people that are in your life love being around you. So I can imagine that the people on the internet that are getting your advice are also going to love and want to be around you. And I think that you've done a very good job of not falling into the whole, oh, but it's so easy to post what people want to see. And
Thanks,
you're
Sid.
being yourself. And I think everybody should follow Devin on TikTok.
Yeah,
It's like
my
Mel Robbins.
dreams.
Everyone needs to follow page 3. We're all doing big things. I'm so
No, but Devin
excited.
is my Mel Robbins. Like, she's literally my let them theory is Devin.
Oh my God.
I
I
also
love
feel like
that.
I love that you're our age and experiencing it because like I love what you said earlier, Sid. Like nobody documents like what it's like in the very beginning when you have no followers and you have no idea what you're doing and there's no direction at all. Like I think that that's kind of a beautiful thing about this episode and the podcast in general is that like we get to document this and there's proof for people that it wasn't so easy and it wasn't so smooth sailing and there wasn't thousands of people watching all the time. Like I think there's something really
But you know,
beautiful
at the
about
end
that.
of the day, at the very least, the three of us are gonna get to look back on this and be like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they damn near like they fucking tried, they did it, they
did
put it out there. Also, Evan, I don't know how you want to articulate this, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but 52 weeks has a link and some survey information and stuff like that out right now. And if you want to tell the people how they can, you know, stay in the loop and be aware of what's coming from you.
Yeah, we have our 52 weeks website is up. It's literally spelled 52uks.com. And you can either sign up to be like an early registrant, which you'll just find out about like drops early, or you can scroll all the way to the bottom for the sample product registration, which we're going to close on April 1st. And that's really it does have like a small questionnaire, but it's really for people who I want the early people on, somebody like Ellie and somebody like you, to be the people that foundationalize this with us and get to sample the first pieces and really kind of revolutionize this movement and be the foundational people with us. I'm excited about
I
it.
want to be a foundational person. I'm so excited. Sid and I in person or like on the podcast with our 52 week sweatshirts, you'll know. Like
I'm excited.
And have no fear, we will put for everybody that if you're not watching this on YouTube and you're listening to this on Spotify or vice versa, we will have Devyn's not only her personal social media, but also the 52 weeks information and all of that jazz. I don't know. The last thing I really want to say is that if you are in our position or in any capacity feeling the way we feel for whatever reason, like there are people like us that are working to make those spaces for you to feel seen and feel talked about. And if you take anything away from that, it's that just like you can do it if you want to. There are people like you and there is community out there for you. It might take a little bit of work, but it is there and we're trying our hardest.
We're here and we're here for you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Anything else you have, Devyn, for us that you'd like to add on there?
I feel very liminal right now. I feel I'm like, it's such a good feeling of
Yeah.
uncertainty of what's gonna come. I am only gonna see the word uncertain as a positive way now, and
Yeah, totally.
I'm so excited. I literally have no idea what's gonna come of anything that all of us are doing, but I'm so excited because I know it's gonna be good.
I
And I
know
feel
it's
Yeah.
that way about anyone else's dream too,
yeah, it's
which is
gonna be
why they
great.
deserve to embark on it.
Exactly. Love that. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and all
Thank
of your
you.
incredible wisdom. We can't wait to
Yeah.
see everything that your dreams come to and how much more amazing than we could even imagine they're gonna be because they're already gonna
Yeah.
be so amazing. So it's gonna be
Yes.
Thank you, ladies. I feel the same for you too.
yay! Okay. We love you all. We love you. And we'll see you soon.
Bye, ladies. I'll miss you when I'm gone.
We'll miss you even more.
Oh,
Come back
thanks for
again.
having me.
Book of
Woo!
the month. Fucking devastated. When I
I
was reading
know.
this book, I was actually so sad. First of all, is it too soon for me to jump in and say I was not expecting Alice to be the killer? Holy shit balls.
Hold up. I have so many thoughts on this. Well, first of all, I'm fucking devastated that it's over. The journey of reading this was just so special to me. Like, I just think that I could talk for hours and write a dissertation about the emotional and intellectual abilities of these characters. And, like, truly, I feel like I understand them. They are so visceral and real to me. And I just think that, I mean, this author is unbelievably talented. And I'm so heartbroken it's over. And as for Alice, number one, the fact that she's the killer, but it was accidental. And number two, the fact that she has to live every day grieving the fact that she doesn't know he's gone and doesn't know what happened to him. And her family is letting her live in that
I know.
torture.
So I think the really interesting thing about it is because we get everyone's perspective. We get it from Alice's perspective of her being like, Peter's trying to take Bear away from me. Like, Peter's trying to take Bear away from me. And from his perspective, it was, she's so fucking wasted. Do you think you're going to go out on a boat with this boy right now? Like, no, that's not happening. And so to like, it's so complicated because you hate the Peters, okay? Because they're inherently bad. And you
And
feel
also, why was she? Yeah. Sorry, go.
and you feel horrible for Alice because of everything that happened to her. And then the way that switches in this final moment, like the whole story, you hate Peter and you feel so bad for Alice. You hate the Peters and you feel so bad for Alice. And then all of a sudden it just kind of like, you have this moment of like, wow, but like what? It's so complicated.
It's also just so hard because it's like to the point where she did end up being responsible for Bear's death. Like, I don't even know if I want to call her the killer. Like, it's more just like she had responsibility for Bear's death. It's so crazy because you could play devil's advocate and like she got to that point because of the Peters. They drove her to drink. They over medicated her. They wanted her to be this pliant girl, and she, Delphine slept with her husband and broke her heart, and her husband beat her down little by little every single day to the point where the only thing that she felt she had in this world was her son. And it was she said it was the only form of real love she's ever felt in her life. And so the fact that when that happened, they're presenting it as like they protected her, like their carelessness is really a guise of their protection for her by being like, oh, we're just going to keep medicating her. We're just going to give her 3-4 drugs a day. And we're never going to tell her she's responsible, when in reality, like, is it worse for her to live with the torture of not knowing what happened to him? And also, like, don't they have to claim some of the responsibility of what happened to him? Because they drove her to the point where she was drinking so much because she thought she was losing them.
Yeah.
And like, the only reason she was drunk at that whole party anyway is because her husband slept with her sister.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't they have some responsibility for his death? Because
Totally.
her behavior this way, like she explained that like as a kid she was always shy, but she was never like this. And like they ruined her. They did that to her. So don't they like have to take part of the blame for what happened to him?
Totally. Well, I think it's really interesting because I think the power of this story lives in the fact that you get everyone's different perspective because there's it's the same thing that we always talk about. Instead of like, there's always two versions of the story. In this case, there are so many versions of the story, and that's not even because it's like the truth. It's because of the way that you see it and because of the things that have built you to get you into this moment, right? And so I think the thing that I like love about the story is also getting Tracy's perspective of things and also getting Barbara's later on. And when Tracy asks Barbara, like, what about your mom when she's in that moment? I don't know if I said this the last episode, and her mom's like, oh, she's just like she's just kind of useless.
She did.
I like really was struck by that because I was like, but It's such a hard thing because I think I always have such extreme empathy of, like, you have a child. Like, if you have a child but then, it's so complicated. It's so complicated because it's like, oh, I feel for Barbara. Like, she doesn't have a mother. She doesn't have a father. Like, she has TJ and that's it because her family is so fucked that she's not
Yeah,
even able to live in this, like, so it's, like, so many competing feelings, and it's like, wow. This
yeah,
story is like, I wrote, what did I say? I said, "Wow, now that's a fucking book." It's been a minute since I
yeah,
read, like, a book.
yeah.
That's a fucking book. Like, that
I think
is
so I completely agree with you. Something else that I think we've loosely talked about how the book does this is that their ability to talk about really important themes in conversations without outright saying them. Like, for example, like making it clear that TJ's gay or Lowell has a crush on Walter. Like that
yeah,
whole thing without explicitly saying it. I think something that was so well done is the socioeconomic anxiety and socioeconomic, like, hatred of, like, stop letting the rich get richer, don't let the
yeah,
rich eat the poor, like, that whole conversation was so well integrated into this, and my example of that is that, at the beginning of the murder trial, whatever, Annabelle's parents are able to rid her of any suspicion basically just by being like, "She's wealthy, she has this lawyer, we're
yeah,
marrying her off to some guy, like, she's fine." But Luis, who has nobody to fight for her and can't afford that and, grew up in a town that doesn't have that resource, she basically just got shit on and the blame got put on her. But instead of saying it outright, I think the best example I saw in this was, first of all, Annabelle and Peter being able to be together despite the drastic age difference. It was like 18 to 27
well,
or something.
but it's the same exact pattern of Alice and Peter. That was the thing
Yes.
that's fucking crazy. Like, it just continues again.
And it will continue again, but I think the other craziest example to me is Lee. And if you know what happens to Lee, Lee basically gets told it's called a predator and they want to, find him in search of this murder because they think that he's a pedophile. And when he comes to Louise, he cries on her doorstep and is like, basically says that he was sleeping with this girl who was very, very wealthy and working for her wealthy family. And they were sleeping together, and her parents found out and they reported him as a predator instead of acknowledging that their daughter was really in love with him because
Yeah,
it was more realistic to them to
yeah,
believe he was preying on their daughter than to believe that their daughter could be in love with somebody of a lower class than
yeah,
them. And I think by telling that story, and he didn't defend himself, he
yeah.
didn't beg for forgiveness. It was literally 2 lines of explanation, and I was able to really gather the message that Liz Moore was trying to articulate. And I think that's, like, just such a good example of how the author, like, gets you to think about these things and talks about these big themes without shoving them down your throat,
Well,
and that's beautiful.
totally. One of my favorite examples of that too is the self-reliance and how it was built, and how the original Peter was like, "Yeah, like, I built it all on my own, and I'm, like, so great
Yeah,
at this shit." And then everyone's like, "Everyone in the town built it. What are you talking about? Like, everyone in the
yeah.
town was there for you." Or how everyone in the town shows up to search for Bear, and then shows up to search for Barbara, and how everyone in the town rallies around these people, and they don't give a rat's fucking ass.
And then all of the people that rallied around them weren't invited to their party.
And everyone in the town isn't support, like, employs them, so keeps their ground steady and all this stuff, and they have absolutely no interest of even acknowledging or gracing them with any sort of
Yep.
acknowledgement at all, which was fucking crazy to me. And so I also think that, oh, so when I was first reading and I saw, like, the ending in sight, I kind of saw the ending in sight when they were like, well, okay, wait, there's 2 things I want to talk about. I want to talk about TJ and the, suspicion around her character and Barbara, and then I also wanna talk about the fact that as soon as I saw the ending in sight of, like, Barbara living in the cabin off the in the coast, I was kind of pissed. Like, I was like, I don't know if I love this." And then when it happened, I was like, "No, it's perfect." Like, it's actually such a perfect ending. And then I think I wrote, the fact that her parents don't care enough to keep looking even as they are convicted. Alice being the one to kill Bear and never knowing is wild. I kind of wish we got Alice's perspective one last time before it ended. I just want to know what happens to Louise. I love TJ and the way she cares. It was told exactly the way it needed to be told. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I do really wish that we got Alice's perspective one more time. Like, I really wanted hers to be like the last chapter, not the last chapter because it's Barbara's story, but I wanted her perspective one more time of, like, what was it like for her to see her husband and her father-in-law go on trial? What happened to Louise? Like, is she gonna go back to
Well, as far
college?
as I'm concerned, is that Louise ends up at least being fine. Like, we know she's
No, yeah.
exonerated of, like, all of
But I wanted
her
to see her
things.
happy ending, you know? I wanted to
Yeah.
her be
I
happy.
could totally see, like, 10 different books spinning off of this world. I
Please.
also think, I also too was like, when I saw the ending in sight, I would never have guessed it, but I
No.
definitely was a little peeved because I was like, "Okay, what the fuck? This isn't really a mystery anymore." But then the way that Judy explains it and the purpose of it all
Yeah.
and the way TJ falls into it, like, I think a perfect I think the reason it was so perfect to me is that, like you said, TJ's suspicion and all of that stuff, when you get that end of the story where they're explaining why she did what she did, and you realize that, she saw what happened to Bear and she defended her dad and she gave up her whole life to protect them.
Yeah.
And for why?
Yeah.
She basically had this like come to Jesus moment of like,
Yeah.
I gave my whole life to protect them. And what did that do for Barbara?
Yeah.
Why? What did that do for her? Who fucking cares actually? Her life matters more. Her life is more important. And she did everything she could, including giving her and her father up so that Luis could be safe because she basically came to the conclusion that somebody innocent getting the blame from this family
Again.
was what couldn't happen again, and so she was willing to sacrifice her entire life, her career for this, and then for Judy to know what happened
Yeah.
and really understand it, and all that mattered to her was knowing that she was safe, and she was willing to sacrifice this
Yeah.
career-making discovery, and instead she was like, "If she's safe." I can't remember what the exact line was, but at the end of the book, she basically said, like, "If she's happy and she's safe, like, I would be ruining her life, forcing her back to them, like just to make my career," like something along those lines. And the fact that like she didn't take that from her, like it's just she's the only person that hasn't tried to take something from Barbara, and
Yeah.
she just let her like be free.
And when she swims to the shore and she goes, "Do you want me to leave you alone?" And Barbara, like, hesitates and then she's like, "Yes." I could cry. I actually could
Yeah,
cry right now thinking about it.
yeah,
The fact that she asked her, "Do you want me to leave you alone?" is such a specific that question in and of itself is so perfect for the circumstance of, like, yeah, like,
yeah.
do you want like, Barbara just wants to be left the fuck alone, and the
She
fact that
also didn't say like, "Do you wanna be found? Are
yeah,
you safe? Are you okay? Do you
yeah.
want me to call somebody?" Like, she literally just said like, "Do you wanna be left alone?"
It's and then and I think also when it was back at Barbara's boarding school and TJ brought her coats because her parents didn't give her any even though they're fucking wealthy, and Barbara had to lie and say that it was a boy that was in her room, and then that's what start triggers this whole idea that she's gonna switch them, that all of these different things happen and all of this stuff about how and then when you find out and you flashback, I also love the change of the ending because when you flash back to the moment where Barbara's like, "Oh," like or Tracy asked her, like, "Is it gonna be okay that you don't go?" And Barbara's like, "I don't know." Like, "I don't know," because she's learning how to survive in the woods, and I love that she kinda saw the way that Judy saw her standing in the woods, and she looked like, more confident in herself and more herself and all this stuff, and I was thinking like, "Oh my god, she's the god of the woods." Like, she gets to become, like, the god of the woods. She's the one that
Yeah.
now rules this place and lives her own life and lives this beautiful life, and I was just, like, so liberated and so excited by this ending where I was like, she gets to live a life that is hers now, 'cause
Yeah.
her dad and her grandpa are going to convict her for murder. We don't know what's gonna happen to her mom. Like, her life at home would not be good. Now she gets to live her own life.
And I think, like, the thing is that they never imagined that when they sent her, TJ and her never could have possibly imagined that if she went missing, that it would have dug up all of this stuff that happened to Bear and everything else. Like, I don't think they ever truly saw that thing happening. But I think also, like, beyond just she gets to be the god of the woods and she gets to be free in some way,
Yeah.
I think one of the most tragic parts of the whole story is that she never, not even because she didn't meet him, but she never got to have any form of a relationship or grief about the brother she never met because her family took that from her. And she was like this replacement, this thing to help her mom grieve. And I think the fact that in the last scene, she sets up a photo of him
I was gonna say that.
in the house is like this reclaiming of like, he's my sibling. He's not everybody's fucking story.
Yeah.
He's not your successor. He's not your son. He's not all of this crap that you've made him be. He's not better than he's my brother. Like, he was mine and you guys took that from me. And like the thing is that when she was explaining that she never got that relationship with him, she wasn't explaining as in like I didn't get it because he died. They were explaining like she never got to talk about him. She never got to grieve him. She never got to know who he was. I loved that at the end she got to reclaim that little piece of her life by bringing him with her.
Yeah, I loved that too. And I loved that I love that the story started where or ended where it started, because it ends with Barbara going off to the woods, right? And it's like that night that she goes missing. And it's TJ taking her there to make sure that she gets there safely. And I think that it's funny because it brought me back to the beginning when Luis realizes that Barbara is missing and she goes to see TJ in the cabin. And that now you know that TJ was getting back and she's in the shower because she needs to like be like oh my God, like this story and the complexities of it and the amazing mind of this.
So well done.
It's so well done. I don't even think I can say it enough. As a read, like, and this was a story that I can appreciate both as a reader and a writer. Like, I dream of being able to write a story as amazing as this. Genuinely, I dream of it. And I think something that I really loved about it was I like literally just wanted to live in this world for the longest time because I was so drawn in by the characterization and the language and the plot. Every layer of this story was so fantastic to me. I also loved that.
Totally agree.
I think it would be more accurate for us to say that TJ is queer, because I originally thought that they were kind of alluding to the fact that TJ could be non-binary because she wears like a lot of androgynous clothing. And
Oh,
like,
see, I thought they were trying to just make her unfeminine because I think the characteristic and stereotype of lesbians is that you're inherently less feminine because you don't care about the male gaze, which inherently makes you less feminine. So I
interesting.
thought that like portraying her as somebody who didn't care about her looks, like with her hair, was basically was supposed to be like an illusion that she's not as feminine.
Yeah.
But I could totally be wrong. That was just my
I think it would
view
be
of it,
like
but I think that's a really good way to put it for you to say that.
I think it's more that she lives under the umbrella of being queer. Like,
Yeah.
she is queer of some sort, and like that she just wants to live in the woods with Barbara, and that the fact that she was her like that like she was Barbara's mother like breaks my fucking heart for TJ too. Of like,
And she has to let her go and sacrifice her again. It's just another sacrifice that TJ's had to make for this family without even really wanting to. Like, she didn't want to lose Bear. She didn't want to give up her spot at this camp so that she could exonerate Louisa. And she didn't want to give up Barbara. She wants to be her best friend. Like, she wants to have that relationship with her. And it's just all this family did was take and take and take and take and take from everybody, take from their kids, take from their family, take from their friends, take from the world around them. Like, all they did was fucking take. And the fact that each of these perspectives is just a different variation of how they took from somebody.
yeah.
Like, they took this, that all it is. Every single perspective was TJ's career being like, she had to take care of her father. She could never leave him alone. She had to stay at this camp because she knew what happened to Bear. Okay, that's him. Carl dies losing his morality essentially to these people. Then his wife has to suffer that. Okay, that's something they took for them. Lee, it all of a sudden gets brought up that he's a pedophile, which is clearly something that's like really fucking hard for him to understand because it's not true. Okay, there's that. Louisa almost loses her entire life that she's worked for and has put all this effort into to their fucking laziness and money being thrown around to make sure that she doesn't fucking, like, that somebody else innocent because they don't want to get caught. Okay, then we have Judy, who has to sacrifice the thing that she has worked so hard for, which is to be seen as an equal and as somebody who is good at her career. And she has to be willing to give that up because this family has fucked with Barbara's head so bad that she needs to live on this island alone. Like, every single person. And Alice, who's a part of this family, they took her sanity. They took her love. They took her emotions. They took her son. They took her autonomy. They took everything from her. All this was, and from Tracy, you know what they took from Tracy? They took the first real fucking friend she ever had. They drove Barbara away so much so that she couldn't enjoy this friendship with Tracy, that Tracy couldn't have this in her life because Barbara needed to escape so bad. Every single perspective we got in this book was an example of something this fucking family took.
That is such a good fucking point, Sid. And beyond that, also they took away Tracy's innocence in a sense because now for the rest of her life, unless Barbara comes out when she's 18 and she like wants to be known that she's like alive and whatever she decides for her own story. Tracy will never be able to sleep at night, or she's going to be haunted by the fact that one of her best friends, the only friend she ever knew, went missing. That's so
Yeah.
scarring for a young child to even be able to conceptualize or understand or know. I, like, am so taken by this story and, like
I
a
also loved the scene for Tracy where at the end she basically, when she was talking to her mom, she was like looked up at the sky and felt at peace, and she was like, "I know she's okay. I know she's."
Oh! And the fact that she has a relationship with her mother, the fact that she has a good relationship
Ah!
with her mother, like, that always just makes me wanna sob. Like, every time I read that, like, yeah. Also, I love the fact that it was, Carl's wife that was the one that
Scary Mary.
that was Scary Mary, and the one that guided, I think that she's the one that guided, Tracy back to the camp.
I still don't think that.
Really? Oh, I feel like that was for certain, like, what she was doing. She was the one that, like, brought Tracy back to the camp.
'Cause so I still think it's the guy, the male,
You think it's
the
Jacob?
Jacob. I still think it's Jacob. Also, that's the other thing that I was gonna say that family took from him. I'm not excusing that he murdered people, but they took his family land from him. They
Yeah.
took all he knew, his life. They basically, like, pushed him out of his world
Yeah.
by just taking this land from him. And then not only that, but one thing he said that he never did is he never messed with kids. He never touched kids. He never did anything with kids. And they, like, not that, like, he murdered people, so that's just bad in general, but they also, like, just blasted that about him and
Yeah.
basically made him out to be, not that murder's not bad, but, like, a completely different narrative that he
Yeah.
had for himself, which messed with him so bad because he said that he would never do anything to kids because of his dad.
Yeah.
And, like, what his dad did to him, and then they just, like, oh my god, they just blasted that everywhere. I still think it's Jacob because I can't imagine. Well, I just think it was very interesting that when we got Jacob's perspective and he was in this house, he said that if a woman that was walking down the stairs saw him, his first reaction would to go, "Shh," and, like, make sure she didn't scream. And so I just think it's so interesting that they said that the man or the person in the woods with Tracy immediately went like this.
Mm.
And I just thought those were 2 weird details to include if it wasn't gonna be them. And also just because, like, if Carl's wife would've just been like, "Oh, little girl, come here." Like, she's non-threatening, and
Yeah.
Tracy couldn't even see, she didn't have glasses on. There's no in my opinion, I just can't understand why Carl's wife would be so secretive about it, whereas Jacob, I think, would have been extremely secretive about it. And also, right before this happened, we got his perspective for a chapter, and it was him walking, following the lakes and the woods and the things all the way up to the camp, remember?
True.
Like, so I don't know. I think we both could be right. I don't know what the right answer
I
is.
I do think it's Scary Mary because of the way that Judy kind of discovered it and was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, this." And then I also think it's the fact that because she didn't want people to know that she was like looking around the woods so that she could like exonerate her husband. I also
Yeah.
love that one of the things that she saw in the like that Judy saw in the paper, like when she's with her family and she got to move out and she got this really exciting thing, like, and then she's gonna go to find the little point to see where exactly Barbara is. When she like opens the paper and it's Carl's whole family, like, being like it wasn't him, and, like, they get to have this, like, new rebirth, and I think they're standing in front of, like, a new house maybe because the house was, like, put up for
Mortgage or something,
mortgage
yeah.
for the bail, for Luis, and it was just like, God, there's this just the women in this story, and the story just I just can't speak highly enough about it. I'm so sad to see it go. I just love it so much.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite book we've read. It's only
Yeah.
our second, but
It's our
it
third.
is it's our third. It's our third. What was the second one?
It's our third book! 3 per.
On the same note of book of the month, we have picked out April's book, and I'm gonna give a little preface after you see it because I think this is a hear me out situation. Okay. So we are reading Cat About Town by Kate Conte, I want to say is how you say her last name. And this is basically a novel about this girl who goes to this island that her family home is on, essentially. And she basically finds this cat, okay, as seen here. And the cat becomes her companion, and they're walking around one day and the cat discovers a dead body in the town that she is in. And essentially I described that terribly.
No.
However,
Oh, you described it great. She finds a cat, her grandma dies, and at her grandma's funeral, she finds a cat, and she's a cat
yes.
whisperer, and she goes and she finds the cat, and then the cat finds a dead body, and now she's kind of like everyone's kind of
But
curious
she's
about
like
this.
everybody's entangled into the dead body, and like it's her and her grandfather and her mother, but then also all of the community members. Everybody is entangled into this dead body because it's a very small community island that is, they all have lived there their whole life. It's all like everybody knows everybody, everybody knows everybody's business. So it's basically just like a giant gossip circle that occurs.
It's literally just like reading a town gossip magazine about a small town in Massachusetts. And I asked Sid specifically, she was the one that picked this out. And I asked Sid, I texted Sid and I was like, listen, I love God of the Woods. I think it's amazing, incredible, but I need something lighthearted as shit. And I also think we need to just pick something a little bit small because I feel bad that book of the month was like massive for everybody. And we only read it in like a
This
month.
is um
Um,
this is roughly 300 pages. I think it's 295 to be exact.
And we have 5 Wednesdays. So every episode goes out on Wednesday, which means you have 5 Wednesdays to complete the book. And you're going to split it up into 12 chapters. There actually are chapters this time.
Yep.
12 chapters until the last section, which is going to be 11 chapters. And he's
Yes,
going to be
and
finishing it in that last week.
obviously me and Ellie have already started this because we finished God of the Woods, so we jumped on into this pretty immediately. But we're very excited about it. We just were really in the mood for something cozy, something not too intense, something maybe with a little less depth, I guess I could say. Like God of the Woods required so much emotional intelligence and deep thinking and thought-provoking ideas, and I feel as though, at least from what I've read thus far, as well as the back of the book, that this is not as thought-provoking, not as multi-layered. It is more just for the enjoyment of reading the book
It's
and
just
just
like
a
a
great
you're just
story.
following the story. You don't really have to
Yeah.
like I needed something like that, especially because like this world is so chaotic and crazy, and I just needed a little bit of a like a breather, and my life is just a little bit stressful. So I just needed something a little bit like, let's
Yeah.
go. It's just whatever. And then
And through the first section so far, I think we've both we're both liking it.
I like
We're
it.
both,
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, it's really just a cat about town. Like this cat goes about town. The cat goes about town. Like I don't know how else to say that.
You
Like
also meet the cat in the first chapter, so it's just he's just such a little character, and I love him. But this is our book of April, and we're
so
very
excited.
excited. And also, if you don't follow our TikTok, we have been posting TikToks of hypothetical books of the month for the future, and all sorts of other book-ish adjacent content that is sidelined from this podcast. So if you are interested, I highly recommend, if you want your thoughts and opinions on Book of the Month to be seen more frequently, to be talked about more often, follow us on TikTok, comment on the videos about Book of the Month or anything else. And yeah.
Yes, please do. We just posted those. They're also on our YouTube channel that you can comment on, of course. And yeah, let us know what books you would want to see. We've kind of been reading like a lot of mystery, I suppose, a little bit lately. So if you have other ideas, I guess every book is kind of a mystery novel in and of itself, but that's a topic for another time. Just let us know your thoughts. As always, we love you. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you made it to the end, chase your dreams, babe. You got it.
Yeah. And if you made it to the end, just remember that we will have everything related to Devyn and her story and her projects linked. So please, please, please go check that out.
Yeah. Okay, we love you. We'll see you in the next chapter.
In the next chapter. Bye.